International Studies, JNU, who is joining us in the conversation. And before that, let's turn to some of the visuals that have come in. These are visuals of ceremonial welcome accorded to Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Vedana Putra building in Putrajaya. Those visuals coming in from Putrajaya, the seat of power in Malaysia, which houses the Prime Minister's office and other important institutions. Those visuals of ceremonial official welcome accorded to Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Putrajaya, Malaysia.
Prime Minister Narendra Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting members of the Malaysian delegation that are there to receive him after the ceremonial welcome that's been accorded to him at Putrajaya, Malaysia, 25 kilometers from Kuala Lumpur. Today is day 2 and the final day of Prime Minister's 2-day visit to Malaysia, Southeast Asian country, extremely significant both in the bilateral and the multilateral context, as Malaysia is also an ASEAN founding member and was chair of ASEAN in 2025. So now the Malaysian Prime Minister meeting the members of the Indian delegation ahead of one-on-one and delegation level talks between the two leaders.
That's right. Those visuals came in just a short while ago. Putrajaya is where the action is focused today. This is referred to as the twin capital of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, day 1. Prime Minister engaged with the diaspora. And today in Putrajaya, seat of power in Malaysia, more official engagements are set to take place. What we were watching on the screen were the visuals of ceremonial welcome and interaction with the delegation. Two special guests continue to be with us, Ambassador Ashok Sajjanhar, and also joining us now is Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj from School of International Studies, JNU. Good morning and welcome to both of you again. Professor Bharadwaj, as more official engagements begin today on day 2 of Prime Minister's visit to Malaysia, how do you see the rapport that the two leaders share, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, from the visuals that we saw yesterday to the manner in which the two leaders are likely to engage and expand the scope of partnership between the countries?
Yeah, definitely. They are as referred yesterday. They are very good friends, and this is Prime Minister Narendra Modi's third visit to Malaysia. And I think that this visit, you can say that we are also deepening our economic and strategic tie with Malaysia. But certainly, India had been working under its Act East policy, and where there are four very strong components that we have been working, and we are basically enhancing comprehensive partnership. That is, one is the cultural linkages or cultural tie that India had historically, civilizationally. Second is, of course, the commercial connections or commercial interactions. That is also very old, from the second century. You can say the two countries had. The third is, of course, the physical connectivity, because we are also looking to connect with the Southeast Asian countries, including Malaysia and Vietnam and all these countries. And fourth, I think very important aspects between the two countries, where the two leaders basically is looking forward to build a capacity built up between the two countries in different areas, where this would address to the global goods and global commons, like the food security, health security, digital security, and the number of new areas that is coming up. But very important thing I would like to bring, that the way it has been greeted yesterday and today also taken, is that India's idea of East is very strongly embedded in spirituality. In fact, while we are looking towards the South East Asian countries, because the India is a sun worshipping civilization. We believe in Surya Namaskar, in yoga. Vastu looks east. Chhat Puja and other numerous festivals that is looking towards east. So we have very strong civilizational and cultural bondages that comes from the Hinduism, that comes from the Buddhism, and of course Malaysia is a Muslim-dominated society. But you will find that the Islamic culture is basically Indo-Islamic culture, that Malaysia is. That is very inclusive, very syncretic in a way, and we had been living civilizationally. And you can see that number of scripts, Ramayans, arts, architecture, and in different parts of Southeast Asia, like Angkor Wat, Bali, Pawat, and fertility courts, and all that has been embracing the two civilizations between the two countries. And so you can see that the whole region connecting with the seven, I would categorically say that there are seven waves of India's engagement towards Southeast Asian countries, particularly with Malaysia. The first wave, you can say, the cultural commercial from second century to 12th century AD,
Right.
where you can see that Hinduism spill over in all regions up to the 10th century. And the Buddhism has also gone through China in the 7th century. Islam and moderation through spice trade has been flourished in this region from 11th to 12th century. And then further, it would say, the Chola dynasty had its sway in this region. But the second wave, I think, from cultural to imperial security, that is also very instrumental, because when we are looking today's Southeast Asia and Malaysia, we are looking in both the context of geostrategic and geo-economic. And in geostrategic, we are looking in the context of the Indo-Pacific strategy, larger Indo-Pacific strategy, and
Right.
Southeast Asia is the focal point, is a very significant point for all the extra-regional powers as well as for India. And we are looking to have these under Quad while addressing non-traditional security issues and all that. But this security, or you can say imperial security, has been started during the British period. From 19th century to 20th, well, we were the British colony, that the Britishers, they have expanded up to Burma, Malaya, Hong Kong, Hong Kong and all these countries, and we had also expansion of naval power and reach, and that is connecting with the navigational rights, or you can say maritime security. And Malaysia is very important partner in the maritime security, while we are looking forward to have Malacca Strait connecting with Southeast or South China Sea. And the Malacca Strait is very, very significant, strategic as well as economic point for India and for Southeast Asian countries, and including China. Right? While the Chinese, they are also looking in the context of the Malacca dilemma. If there is a conflict in this region, then India has upper hand or ace in sense of security and all that. So you can see India and Malaysia is working to ensure the maritime security and free and open Indo-Pacific region, and there the free and navigational rights of either in Indian Ocean or you can say South China Sea is very important for both the countries. So we are looking forward to have a maritime cooperation in this visit, while two prime ministers had been. They have very strong bond. The third very important, I would definitely put it, when we have become independent, the first thing we had tried to connect with the Southeast Asian countries was the Asian Relations Conference in 1947. And then we had conference in Indonesia and other parts of these things, and this continued till mid 50s. We tried to, but somehow we have become the victim of the Cold War politics. So we could not have that kind of strong bonding or strong connections what we had historically. I said that from the second century to the Britishers when they came, and due to the Cold War politics, we could not continue these linkages. Either you take about the cultural or commercial or physical connectivity. So the opening can be again a reopening. You can look it in the context of the India's Look East policy. While Narasimha Rao has come out with a Look East policy, and under this Look East policy, some of the aspects had been started reviving, looking and connecting with the Southeast Asian countries. While India ASEAN summit, while East Asia summit, while India Malaysia business ties, and now we are just looking forward to. But the most important critical aspect has come out while Prime Minister Narendra Modi had given that we are just not looking, we are acting towards East. And there the fourth component is in the present context. Ambassador Sajjanar was also talking about all kinds of the AI and semiconductor and development. So under the Look East Act East policy, we are looking the capacity build up between the two countries. And India is a very strong, very significant source of service sector providers to the Southeast Asian countries. And I think this will strengthen by the people-to-people contact, as Malaysia has around 10% of population that speaks Indian language. They are the second largest diaspora that India has in Malaysia. And I think these are we are looking all these ties in the context of the historical, cultural, and people-to-people connection.
So you've given up a holistic view over the centuries, really, including the British period to the Cold War period to now. Ambassador, coming to you on how China really would be viewing this visit, because earlier we've been talking about how Malaysia is trying to balance competing powers here, the great power competition that we talk of between the United States and China in the Indo-Pacific. In India, there is a benign power. So considering that Malaysia does have its disputes in the South China Sea with China, there are competing claims that both sides have as far as Malaysia's exclusive economic zone is concerned. Yet Malaysia is non-confrontational, also because China is Malaysia's highest or top trading partner. So having said that, how do you think China would be viewing Prime Minister's visit?
Yeah, that's an excellent question and excellent subject for deliberation, because China, of course, the presence of China, the footprint of China in this region is very expansive, very strong, very deep-rooted, not only in historically, ethnically, but also economically. I mentioned about the Belt and Road Initiative that was launched by Xi Jinping when we saw that there was the global economic crisis, subprime mortgage lending crisis in 2007, 2008. So as far as the infrastructure exports of China to the developed world, that started coming down. So it launched this one. And as far as the maritime connect of the BRI is concerned, Malaysia is a very important component of that. And we've seen not only is it China the biggest trading partner of Malaysia, but it's also the biggest investment partner of Malaysia, the largest investments that have come for building of infrastructure, east-west railway, etc. That has all come from China. Now, as far as responding to your question as to how China would be looking at it, basically China wants India to be constrained to its periphery of South Asia, not to have any influence or any role beyond that. And that is why we see what is traditionally been called the string of pearls, that you create certain structures around India so that it is not able to, it is shackled there, it is not able to expand out of that. And that is seen whether it is the port facilities in Gwadar, in Hambantota, in Sri Lanka, in Chakfu, in Myanmar, etc. And also over the last several decades, China has been very proactively engaging India's neighbors. For instance, you see in Pakistan, of course, that started in the 60s itself, soon after India's conflict with China, but also with other countries. Myanmar is a case in point where we have seen how the free trade agreement between Myanmar and China was signed, and how Mohammad Yamin was taken on board by China and made a part of the Belt and Road Initiative. That is a very important area where
Maldives, you mean?
Maldives,
Yeah.
Maldives. My apologies.
Yes.
My apologies. Yes. So I think it's still early in the morning.
Yes.
So,
Yes, please do sip your morning tea, but please continue.
And
okay, so Maldives, yes. So it is Mohammed Yamin, after Mohammed Nasheed who came there. So I think it is China has sought to reach out to them. China has sought to reach out to Sri Lanka and so many of the others, whether it's even Bangladesh. From 2002 onwards, we were able to see that much of the defense equipment that is going to Bangladesh is from China, and of course we know about the connect with Myanmar, the China-Myanmar economic corridor. Of course, it wanted to have what is called the BCIM, the Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar corridor, but India, of course, was not very comfortable with that. So we have seen that China has tried to create a fence around India. So it would, of course, not be very happy when it sees that relations between India and ASEAN are growing. And this was also visible when we had launched the Indo-Pacific initiative, and because it was thought China considered it to be an action against China. You would remember that when the first meetings of Quad had taken place in 2007, and the first time when the Malabar exercises took place with Singapore, Japan, Australia, etc., then China had made a big, expressed its big opposition to it, and we had seen in 2008 when the change of government in Australia took place and Kevin Rudd came to power, he disassociated himself from these discussions and these exercises. It is only much later in 2017 when the expansionist policies, the aggressive policies of China became so very evident that we had the resuscitation, the reinvigoration of the Quad in 2017 on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit in Manila, Philippines in November of that year. So we have, even at that time, what China had mentioned was that this Quad, it is like a bubble on the surface of the ocean. It's froth on the surface of the ocean, and it's going to dissipate and disappear very quickly. So obviously China doesn't feel comfortable when India tries to occupy its rightful place in global affairs, in International Committee of Nations. So, but of course, India will continue to do what it does. And India's, as we were discussing earlier, India's stock is growing, India's influence is growing economically, politically, and geopolitically, strategically. And one of those examples is the visit to Malaysia and the very positive response that it has got from the leadership in Malaysia. And I'm sure that there is going to be a strong foundation. We have seen over the last few years that this partnership with Southeast Asia is growing, with ASEAN countries is growing, and Malaysia is the latest example of that. With Singapore, we have already seen that our partnership has been very strong, very vibrant, very dynamic, and I can see that now Indonesia, Malaysia and Thailand are also going to be, and Vietnam of course, also some of the others like Philippines, where we have supplied, we are supplying these BrahMos missiles, $300 million are exports. So I think this is a rich area, this is a ripe area for taking our partnership forward with the region.
There, Ambassador Ashok Sajjanar, Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj requests you to stay with us while we head for a short break. There's lots more coming up in our comprehensive coverage of Prime Minister's visit to Malaysia.
Stay tuned.
स्वागत आहे टू मैग्नेटिक महाराष्ट्र. One of India's newest states, one of India's oldest lands.
Food systems contribute to a third of global planet warming emission. In today's episode, let's take a look at what happens when food systems stop working for everyone.
After Hatibondo arrived, we discussed as a village the challenge that we were facing. And we came to the conclusion that we should sow some crops, especially for the elephants.
The Meramo Cafe is basically promoting the circular economy. So there's not much transportation involved in that process. So this is one way that we are reducing the carbon emission from that point of view.
Is probably laughing because despite the fact that they're cleaning up other people's problems for free, it seems like nobody here actually wants them to be doing it.
Welcome back. You're watching this special presentation on DD India. We are covering Prime Minister Narendra Modi's two-day visit to Malaysia. Today is day 2. Let's take a look at another aspect of India-Malaysia ties. IIT Madras Global recently entered into a strategic collaboration with Malaysia's Advanced Semiconductor Academy, positioning Indian talent, research and startups for global expansion. As Prime Minister Modi's Malaysia visit is underway, the semiconductor sector is something that holds a lot of potential in talks between both the sides.
India's semiconductor ecosystem is gaining global momentum. IIT Madras Global recently announced an exploratory partnership with Malaysia's Advanced Semiconductor Academy or ASEAN aimed at strengthening talent development, build domestic capabilities across chip design, fabrication, assembly and testing.
ASEAN and IIT Madras will collaborate to build and nurture a future-ready talent pipeline in semiconductor and IC design with a strong focus on the automotive industry, robotics and next-generation intelligent mobility sectors. This collaboration will place particular emphasis on low-emission and future mobility applications, including autonomous driving technologies, electric vehicle platforms, drones, and eVTOLs, the electrical vertical takeoff and landing systems, while supporting industry-ready skills, development, applied research, and innovation.
Under the framework, IIT Madras Global will design and deliver advanced skilling programs, executive education, leveraging IIT Madras' strong academic and research base, and ASEAN will support outreach and industry enablement in Malaysia.
IIT Madras Global, they have recently signed an MOU with the state of Selangor. Just to put it in perspective, state of Selangor is which produces close to 25% of the GDP of Malaysia. And here I think they're going to start based on this year training of a large number of Malaysian in the design of the chips. So IIT faculty will be involved in this, but it is IIT Madras Global. These are some of the examples of where things have already happened. Malaysia has a record of having almost close to 4 decades of development of semiconductors, and here there is a lot of potential for what they call is advanced technology enterprises.
Malaysia and India are signaling a push for closer cooperation in the semiconductor sector. Malaysia launched its National Semiconductor Strategy in 2024, focusing on modernizing chip packaging and testing, attracting high-end manufacturing equipment players and expanding existing fabs. India, in its latest budget, announced Semiconductor Mission 2.0, aimed at producing chip equipment and materials, developing full-stack Indian intellectual property and strengthening supply chains. Industry experts say the complementary strengths of both the countries make a strong case for collaboration.
Malaysia has a very strong semiconductor ecosystem. Something like 30% of their exports relate to semiconductor and allied products. So they have a really strong performance over many years in the area of semiconductors. They have almost 30-40 years experience in those areas. So we are in the process of establishing a multi-layered collaboration arrangement through a G2G MOU, semiconductor industry-led collaborations, and also R&D, both in terms of setting up fabrication centers, also assembly testing centers, etc. Our companies are also interested in collaborating with Malaysia.
As India's semicon industry gathers pace, India and Malaysia's semicon collaborations will help talent, research and startups plug directly into global semiconductor value chains. Megha Dev reporting from Kuala Lumpur for DD India.
Right, coming back to our discussion with the eminent guests that are with us. Professor Bharadwaj, coming to you, under Semiconductor Mission 1.0 that was earlier launched, now Semiconductor Mission 2.0 has been announced in the budget. But in the first phase, we saw how American company Micron Technology set up a semiconductor assembly and test facility in Gujarat's Sanand Industrial Park. So under 2.0, do you expect collaboration between Malaysia and India when it comes to semiconductors? Also, when did Malaysia really start this? Because if 30 to 40% of its exports are of semiconductors, and if it has 30 years of experience already in semiconductors, does it really have an early mover's advantage? And how can both sides really learn from each other? Because I understand that there's an MOU now, like we told the viewers, between IIT Madras and State of Selangor on training of Malaysians in designing chips. So are we training Malaysians in designing chips, and are they setting up fabrication centers going forward here in India?
Thank you. See, Malaysia has been working in this sector for around 2 decades. In fact, about semiconductor and all that. But this mission 2 basically had started 2024, and India is coming out with the semiconductor mission 2 and connecting with Malaysia. But most important aspects is that we are now having institutional collaborations. Why IIT Madras is coming and having joint research and developing this sector. Definitely, this sector is, as I particularly mentioned, that our focus is to build the capacity. The capacity build-up programs are very important, very significant, either in the IT sector, Silicon Valley, defense sector, and all that. So India is looking forward to have the semiconductor mission 2, and there we are trying to diversify the resources or collaborations. Earlier we had started with the United States, and now we are basically looking forward to have collaborations with Southeast Asian countries. While Prime Minister Narendra Modi had visited last time to Singapore, there also we discussed about that how we can collaborate to boost the IT sector, to boost the new research sector, in particularly in collaborating in semiconductor research and generations between the two countries. So in the same manner, we are looking forward to have this mission with the Malaysia. I would like to bring it where the journey of this collaborations of a strategic partnership had started. In fact, I remember in 2000, while Atal Bihari Vajpayee government was there and Jaswant Singh was the foreign minister, and we tried to expand with the Southeast Asian countries, including Malaysia, in 3 sectors. One is trade expansion, second was the mobilization of investment, and third was the integration with the regional groupings. But the most important aspect has come out that when we moved away from exclusively focusing on economic issues to the broader agenda of involving security cooperation, and that includes joint operation to protect sea lanes, pooling resources in different areas like cyber crime, cyber security, terrorism, and all that. And I think for these semiconductor cooperation and collaboration in semiconductor would definitely will enhance the capacity of the two countries to fight against the new areas or new threats that the Indo-Pacific region is looking forward. When we had gone for the Indo-Pacific region, and under Indo-Pacific region we have come out with a Quad. But most important aspects in the Quad was that the other countries, including the United States, they were just focusing on moreover about the security, the traditional security aspects of Indo-Pacific region to counter China. But India's emphasis under Quad, where the Southeast Asian countries are very important, significant partner of this Indo-Pacific strategy, we had emphasized, no, let's have cooperations in non-traditional security areas and issues. And in this we have focused on the health security, IT, digital security, and then you can say environmental security. And all these areas has been brought into the fold of this larger Indo-Pacific strategy, where these Southeast Asian countries are very important, significant partner. So my argument is that we are looking with these countries, including Singapore and Malaysia and Vietnam and all these countries, in the context of having the collaboration in IT sector and semiconductor, and to enhance the larger or comprehensive security strategy for the better future of this Indo-Pacific region.
Right. Ambassador Ashok Sajjanal, if I can bring that theme of security partnership to you. Prime Minister Modi, in his departure statement ahead of arriving in Kuala Lumpur, also spoke about the aim to deepen defense and security ties. We have earlier talked about the manner in which Malaysia also holds an important strategic maritime location, the Strait of Malacca, linking the Indian and the Pacific Ocean. How do you see this wide domain of security and strategic engagement also forming a focus when the two leaders talked today?
Yeah, I think security defense is a very important element of the bilateral cooperation and the bilateral partnership. We have a number of institutional mechanisms between the two countries, between India and Malaysia, in which we cooperate. We had the visit of Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh also taking place to Malaysia recently. And even under the rubric of the ASEAN, where we have the ADMM plus, ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting plus, in which the other countries are also included. So India is a very active component of those discussions. We have a number of exchanges of delegations between the two sides. As I said, there are institutional frameworks also in this area of defense. We have a number of port calls that take place because the freedom and the openness of the Indo-Pacific, particularly of the South China Sea, is very important, as we have discussed earlier, that we want free and open, prosperous Indo-Pacific, independent Indo-Pacific. And we also want that there should be freedom of navigation, there should be freedom of overflights. Of course, all the countries in this region are concerned that China has been expanding its footprint. It has, of course, come out with its 9-dash line just around the time that it became, the PRC came to power in 1949. But then after Mr. Xi Jinping has arrived on the scene, there has been much greater emphasis and focus. And although its 9-dash line, by which it claims about 80 to 90% of the South China Sea, that has been totally rejected by the International Court of Justice, by the Permanent Court of Arbitration, but still China maintains its control on that. So the security in the South China Sea is very important. The navies, the fishing vessels, trawlers of countries like Malaysia, like Philippines, like Vietnam have unfortunately been at the receiving end of the Chinese muscle flexing in the South China Sea. So definitely Malaysia is interested in having stronger partnership in this sector with India. As I mentioned earlier, we have India has exported the BrahMos missiles, is in the process of now exporting BrahMos missiles to Philippines. We have over the last several years given several operating sea vessels to Vietnam for more than $100 million. And that is to enhance its security. So Malaysia also has very important, very positive
Ambassador, if I may come in here, there is a regional marketing office of HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited in Malaysia, and there were talks going on sale of Dornier 228 for maritime patrol, leveraging HAL's production to enhance Malaysia's surveillance amid South China Sea needs. Besides that, there are expectations that there could be technology sharing for Malaysia's Scorpion fleet, which is aligned with India's Kaveri class. And then, of course, there is a Sukhoi 30 forum that has already been finalized between India and Malaysia in February 2025. The idea is to exchange maintenance expertise between the Indian Air Force's Sukhoi fleet and Malaysia's Sukhoi fleet. So India is, of course, offering upgrades, maintenance, retrofitting, etc. So beyond naval exercises and other bilateral exercises, Air Force exercises, and the port visits that we've been talking of, do you think this relationship in the defense realm is going to now go to another level, and to the level that you've been referring to in terms of BrahMos sales and other sales to Philippines, Vietnam respectively?
No, absolutely. I think there is huge potential as far as this is concerned. HAL, as you mentioned, opened its office in Malaysia in 2023. And to explore the possibilities of the sale of the Dornier aircraft to Malaysia. Also, we have, Su-30 is a platform that is shared both by India as well as by Malaysia. So India has very good experience in that in terms of servicing, in terms of overhauls. These are areas definitely. Even in the sector of upgrading, there is a great possibility in that. So, as I mentioned, the discussions really started during Prime Minister Modi's first visit in 2015, where he had gone for the East Asia Summit, and at that time he had launched this idea of strengthening the defense partnership also between the two sides. And because of certain, the leadership in the interregnum in Malaysia, the idea could not be taken forward, but now it is again coming to fruition, and I'm very hopeful that in the coming years we will be able to see much greater results in this, much greater progress in this. And this is India is also expanding its own Atmanirbharta, its self-reliance in defense equipment. There was a time earlier when it used to be the largest importer of defense equipment from the world. We have seen that over the last few years, its imports have come down by about 9% or so. Its exports have risen. I think last year it was to the tune of about 23,000 crores that we were able to expand. It's about $6 billion. We have set a target of about $30 billion by 2030. And so I think Malaysia is being in the geography that it is, which is a very contested geography. As we've been speaking about, whether it is the contestation between the United States and China in that region, and it looks upon India as a stable partner, as a benign partner, as a non-threatening partner as far as the region is concerned. So I think all these areas that we've been mentioning about the supply of the Dornier, about the upgrade of Su-30, etc., they have great possibilities, and I'm sure that will be an area of discussion when the talks, deliberation between the two leaders commence just now.
Professor Sanjay Bharadwaj, staying with the concerns related to defense and strategic interests in the region, India and Malaysia, we've informed earlier, share a comprehensive strategic partnership dating back to 2024. But we understand that Malaysia also shares a similar strategic partnership with 3 other countries at least. There's China, there's Australia, and also Japan. Given the similar kind of relationship with India and China, although India-Malaysia ties stand on their own and we've seen the warmth and the potential, but how does the China factor play in? And in that sense, do our interests truly converge in the Indo-Pacific region?
Oh, thank you. While we are looking the strategic dimensions or strategic level, it is very clear that the military balance between China and the Southeast Asian countries, including Malaysia, is altering further in China's favor. And US and Chinese relations and that is where their uncertain relations. So China is also building, strategic relations and building infrastructures in South China Sea and all that. Not only South China Sea, but in Indian Ocean as well. And they are basically trying to Chinese. They are trying to alter the global scenario, as Alfred Mahan, admiral, has said about that whosoever dominated the Indian Ocean dominated the world. So Chinese, they are trying to dominate and building the infrastructure along the Indian Ocean as well as the South China Sea, and that is making uncomfortable to the Southeast Asian countries. So the fostering, or you can say these Southeast Asian countries, they are looking India as a balancing factor in Southeast Asia, and that's why we have started looking forward to have military, or you can say strategic engagement with the Southeast Asian countries. We have strategic partnership with Vietnam. We have comprehensive strategic partnership with Malaysia today. So they are looking. India has basically, with China in the context of Southeast Asia, we have basically four folds of foreign policies. One is, of course, the engagement. And in engagement, while we are going with the Southeast Asian countries, you find more competition with the Chinese, either in the service sector or in defense sector or in energy sectors and all that. But the relationship is moreover in the context of the balance of power. The Chinese, they are coming to Southeast Asia, to South Asian countries, or you can say in the Bay of Bengal, littoral states, investing and giving military and defense aid in the friendship manner. India has also developed a counter strategy, particularly after Prime Minister Narendra Modi, when he visited to the Southeast Asian countries and Malaysia in 2015. We had basically started cultivating relations with the Chinese peripheral states, not only just in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, all these countries, but other East Asian countries like South Korea, like Japan, and even in the northern countries like Mongolia. We have taken is the third neighbor with our extended neighbor. So we are also trying to create a balance of power approach in the Chinese neighborhood. In fact, so our economic and strategic interest can be protected. And in this, the Southeast Asian countries, they have reciprocated very, very well. The second aspect is, in fact, the containment policy, and that is also very important while we are developing the naval and maritime security engagement with Malaysia and with Vietnam and all these countries. Because the Chinese, the way they are reasserting by building ports and infrastructures in Sri Lanka, in Maldives, in Bangladesh, they have developed one port in Myanmar as well, and they are also coming out with the China-Myanmar economic corridor. So there, India has developed a counter-offensive strategy while developing our Andaman Nicobar as dry service stations, and so that we can control and we can monitor that the Chinese expansionist approach in these Indian Ocean and the South China Sea, and we can create a Malacca dilemma before the Chinese, because around 80-85% of Chinese energy trade take place through this Malacca Strait, and that is in between Indonesia and Malaysia. So you can see that this strategic zone for not only for the Southeast Asian countries, for India is very significant, very important. And in this directions, we have started emphasizing about the strategic or comprehensive strategic partners with these Southeast Asian countries. Though we are not just going with the militarily, as I earlier also emphasized about that, we are just not looking in the context of traditional security issues. We are basically trying to engage with these all Southeast Asian countries in the context of non-traditional security areas as well. As I said about when we are having service sectors in these Southeast Asian countries, we have a tough competition from China. The Chinese are very much in Malaysia, in Indonesia, in Singapore, in particularly in service sector. So India, through its diaspora, through its people-to-people connections, through its political and engagements, and providing an alternative or let's say an option to them, that let's have India and these Southeast Asian countries develop capacity together, while in other areas like health sector, like IT education, like developing semiconductors, collaborating with the academic institutions, and the other areas where we can enhance the trade and investment regimes with India.
Right. Ambassador, coming to you, you had earlier on spoken about the Mahathir Mohamad era in Malaysia, where you said that he had a pro-Pakistan tilt, and how at that time various Islamic countries that then did not have a very charitable view of India had come together under one umbrella, and Malaysia was one of them. If you could give us a sense of what kind of society Malaysia is. It's a multi-ethnic, multi-linguistic society, but I understand that predominantly it's a Muslim population there. So in terms of tolerance, how does Malaysia do? Are there reports of rising extremism and fundamentalism in Malaysia? Also, India has been trying to get Zakir Naik extradited from Malaysia. And the MEA, ahead of Prime Minister's visit, had said that that is work in progress. They have spoken to various Malaysian officials at different levels on this. And we know that there are several courts also involved, like we are seeing in Vijay Mallya's case. So what really can we expect on this front, according to you?
Yeah, so I think that's a very important question. Talking about the Malaysian society as such, the way that Malaysia wishes to advertise itself, the sobriquet it uses is Malaysia truly Asia. That means, it represents all elements of Asia. And of course, we see that even as far as the Indian diaspora is concerned, as we've been talking about, it's about 2.9 million, so about 7-8% of the population of about 30 plus million in Malaysia. And as we have seen, it's a very vibrant community. It's a very well-settled community. They have been there. They would not have gone there in such large numbers if they were not happy, if they were not safe, if they were not comfortable there. So I think in that sense, it is an economy, and it has been growing. But of course, it has a very pronounced Islamic identity also. I would hesitate to say that that they were coming together in an anti-India stance. No, that I think was happening by the side. The whole idea was when Turkey wanted to challenge the dominance and the leadership of Saudi Arabia as far as the Islamic world is concerned. And that is why it thought, and Pakistan also was not particularly happy, and they thought that they would be, because they, being the very populated, not the largest Muslim populated country, that is Indonesia, but Pakistan thought it was not getting its due, so it has got in cohort with Turkey and with Malaysia, that they would have their own independent meeting in Kuala Lumpur. That Pakistan did not attend, that did not happen. But as far as the society of in Malaysia is concerned, it is stable. It is not many problems as such. As far as Zakir Naik's case is concerned, I remember that when there was the East Asia summit that took place in Vladivostok some years ago, and Prime Minister Modi was the chief guest, had been invited by Mr. Putin, and Mahathir Mohamad was also there. It was mentioned that the Prime Minister had raised the issue of the extradition of Zakir Naik with Mahathir. Mahathir at that time had said no, this issue was not raised. I think at the moment what the issue has been discussed, and I'm sure it will be broached in one way or the other during the visit. But I understand that the position of the Malaysian side is that in recent years, Zakir Naik has been quite quiet. He has not really said anything provocative either against India or against Malaysia or against the relations between the two sides. So while they are sensitive, Malaysia is very sensitive to what India's concerns are, what India's views are in terms of promoting religious animosity and disaffection and hatred amongst people. but they would not want to take action unless there is some specific cases that come to their mind. You would remember that Zakir Naik had also come in the focus of attention when there was this attack in Dhaka in Bangladesh, the Dhaka bakery case that had taken place, and most of the people, the young men who were behind, those who were accused, they were students, many of them were studying in Malaysia, and they had been influenced by the teachings of Zakir Naik, by the preachings of Zakir Naik. So he had come in for a lot of adverse notice at that particular point of time. But I understand, I saw a very recent interview with Mr. Anwar Ibrahim, where he said that, we would of course, take cognizance of the concerns of India. But of late, in recent years, we have not seen anything emanating from Zakir Naik, him being very active or anything of that sort. So I guess the matter rests there for the time being. As I said, the matter is likely to be taken up at some level or the other during the Prime Minister's visit, but maybe not much forward movement or action on it till there are some adverse commentaries by Zakir Naik himself.
Right. Well, we'll take a break at this point in time, but we'll continue our discussion on Prime Minister's visit to Malaysia, today being the second and final day of his visit, where we earlier saw that ceremonial welcome had taken place, and now we are standing by to know more on the one-on-one and delegation level talks between the two sides. We'll take a breather and be back shortly.